Okay, so on Monday night, one of the local movie, I say local, it's like an hour and a half away, but it's still pretty local. One of the local movie theaters was doing a special showing of Spirited Away. So Clay and I went to see it. We had dinner in the theater, and not just like popcorn. Like this theater, like they have a diner in the theater, and excuse me, in some of their specific theaters, you could just like order shit from your seat. This one wasn't quite like that, but it was still really cool. I just got like wings and fries. The wings were pretty good. The fries were actually pretty boss. It also came with this like little waffle, and I don't know why, but the waffle I also liked quite a bit. But while the food, like it was just like a neat little experience. It was my first time seeing Spirited Away in theaters. Now, this is a different angle than I usually record at because of, well, this. I have a big fucking Spirited Away poster on my door, and the thing right above it is also like an image from the movie. It's of Chihiro riding Haku. Um, I also have two copies of the movie. First is this Japanese one, which doesn't look like it's Spirited Away, so let me prove it. Like, there's one disc, and there's second disc. And then also a non-Japanese version, a DVD and Blu-ray. So I have it on Blu-ray once and DVD twice. And the other one is two discs, so I assume one is like special bonus features, but it's in Japanese, so I would have no idea what they're saying. Anyways, point. I say this with all sincerity and no hint of hyperbole when I say this is one of my favorite films of all time. And generally speaking, I would call it my favorite film of all time. The first time I saw Spirited Away is when I was living in Okinawa. And our landlord had gifted us this copy of the movie. So we lived off base. Our landlord was Japanese. We were very close to him and his family. And one thing he did do is like, yeah, like for the kids, like this movie came out, the movie was like really good, it was super popular. And so I had tried watching it, but I could not get into it the first time. Again, like it's in Japanese. I have no idea what the fuck is going on. I didn't even make it to Yubaba. I pretty much got to like Chihiro's parents turning into pigs and her like trying to cross the river, but the river is or like the rocks are gone and now it's just like a big ass river and shit. I'm like, I have no clue what I'm watching, what the fuck is going on. I think I'm good. The second time I watched Spirited Away was in California where I was at like a lock-in, like a sleepover for my karate dojo. And like the next time we pick, like during the lock-ins, like pick a bunch of movies, and depending like the most popular one will be played like over here on the big TV, and then like another one that people really want to watch, but not as many people want to watch. It's a smaller TV and shit. And I remember one of the kids who was like an older kid, so I thought he was really cool. Really wanted to watch X-Men, like the original X-Men movie. I mean, I think it is the first X-Men. The Brian said like the 2001 X-Men. Like when Wolverine like flips off Cyclops with his claw, which I still think is like a pretty fun idea. Do you know what happens to a toad that's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else. Anyways, so I was like, he's cool, and if he says X-Men, I gotta watch X-Men. So we're watching X-Men in the corner, and Spirited Away is the thing that ends up getting picked and played. And while I'm watching X-Men, I'm like really watching Spirited Away. And because I think I had seen like some of the earlier scenes, is like, this is kind of familiar. And it had been like 3-4 years since I first tried watching it. And I'm like, this is kind of familiar. I'm not sure. But I just feel way more interested in what's going on here than I am in what's going on here. And I still like the like 01 X-Men movie. I think it was around the point when Chihiro is running down the stairs and she's like screaming and shit was when I was just watching Spirited Away. I don't know if it's because X-Men had ended and I was like, I'm now giving this my full attention, or if I was just like, I just want to watch this one now. So from about that point onwards, excuse me, I watched the rest of the movie. I believe the next day, when I was picked up from the sleepover, was taken home, it turns out that parents had gotten a physical copy of it, like of the VHS, which I don't have on me. So I believe it was that night, or probably like that afternoon, I watched Spirited Away again and now got to watch the full movie. So it took 3 different times for me to watch it all the way through. The first time, it's like, it's my fault, but I think it's like, yeah, like, I had no idea what the fuck was going on. Like, I can explain that one. The second one was, I was doing something else, I watched the majority of the movie, and I was way more interested in it than the other thing I was doing, and then the third time was like, I can watch the whole thing, wait, this is really cool. Last year, Jose and I went through all of the Studio Ghibli movies, which we also included Nausicaa, because while it's not technically a Ghibli movie, like, let's call a spade a spade, like, no one's gonna say that it's really not a Ghibli movie. But for years, I had always said, like, oh yeah, I'm this big fan of Hayao Miyazaki, I'm this really big fan of Studio Ghibli, which wasn't really true, because it was essentially, I was just a huge fan of Spirited Away. And now that I've seen the company's catalog, I'm like, I am definitely a big Ghibli fan. Some of these movies are really, 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 really fucking good. I'd seen a couple of them before. Like, I've seen Laputa, I don't know how many times. So I was like, I'm a big fan of Spirited Away and Laputa. And, like, I have a soft spot for Hal. I always have. I don't think it's one of the better ones, if I'm being honest. But I still have a soft spot for it. And I'd seen Princess Mononoke once and Nausicaa once, but didn't really get into them. And then rewatching them, like, I think Nausicaa's all right. Mononoke, I feel like Nausicaa is like a pretty good idea. I think it's like pretty well done. I think there are some really good things in it. I feel like Princess Mononoke was just like the perfection of everything Nausicaa wanted to be. But getting sidetracked again. I've been a fan of this movie for a really long time, and it's because of this movie I have a deep love and appreciation for the works of Hayao Miyazaki. I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine like several years ago, and what he had said was, or it was like a question he had asked. It's like, if you could have any work of fiction created, like, it would be like this artist creating, like, maybe like adapting a certain work, or being able to make a work that's like in this sort of genre, this kind of idea, like, what would you want? I remember his answer was, I would like a collection of Dr. Seuss, like, shorts directed by Hosoda. I was like, yeah, actually, that would be sick as fuck. I would really like that. And I wasn't really sure. And then after a while, I was like, I would want to see Hayao Miyazaki adapt Alice in Wonderland. Because I love the idea of Alice in Wonderland. Just a young girl who's in this world that is completely foreign and oftentimes hostile, and doesn't know what the fuck is going on, and trying her best to make sense of it and survive it, and essentially going from one weird thing to another and one weird thing to another, and eventually being able to escape. And if you could see where I'm going with this, that is just what Spirited Away is. And that's like, because I remember like thinking about that, and then as I thought about it more, I'm like, Spirited Away is Hayao Miyazaki's Alice in Wonderland. It is all that shit. She doesn't, it's not, again, one-to-one, like, she doesn't get to the world by following a white rabbit. She gets there by following her parents, and then specifically telling them, we shouldn't be here. Like, I don't think this is safe. I've got a bad feeling about this. Like, we're supposed to go move into our new house. Shouldn't we go do that? Or it's like, hey, there's all this food here, but I mean, we're gonna get in trouble if we just eat it. But don't worry, you've got daddy here. He's got credit cards and cash. Which, the line always just kind of makes me giggle. But they're very similar stories, and I honestly feel like Spirited Away in particular is why excuse me, I don't have a problem with reactive protagonists. Like, something I hear a lot in, like, writing advice, or it's like when you're trying to, like, like, if you really want something to be published, you have to have an active character. No one wants to see a character who's just reactive, who just lets the story come to them. You want to see someone who... Oh, yeah, Bahamut is coming to sit on my lap. Hey, bud. I love you and Spirited Away. I can love you both, sweet baby. It's something I hear a lot. It's like, you have to have a character who's active. No one likes a reactive character. It's like, that's boring, that's bad writing, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I don't have a problem with it. Granted, though, there is a point in the story where you would like your character to become proactive. Because Chihiro/Sen, for most of the movie, is a very reactive character. Shit just kinda happens. Very much like Alice. Things happen, and she just kind of has to deal with it and kind of pray for the best. But especially by the end, I feel like it's really... You can make an argument her facing off with No Face is her being proactive, but you can also make an argument that's like, okay, she is just reacting to the shit that No Face is causing, and the fact that No Face wants to see her. This is less something that she's saying, I have to do, and just more the situation calling her to do so. But definitely when she goes to deliver the seal to Zeniba, that is, no one even suggested that. She said, I'm gonna do this because I want to save my friend, and that's important to me. I want to do what I can to help my parents, but my parents will have to wait a second because he needs my help now. One thing that's always kind of bothered me about Alice is the ending. It's just, oh, it was all a dream. There was no consequence to anything. And it's why for years I didn't like the animated Disney movie. It is just like the ending feels like it ruins everything. Like there's no... Like she doesn't successfully escape. She doesn't successfully outwit the Queen of Hearts. She just is being chased by things and wakes up and it's like, oh, I made it. Nothing of consequence. Yay. And then when Clay and I rewatched like all the Disney movies, I was like, why have I ever disliked this? This is the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen. This movie is gold. It's what I kind of said earlier. It's like, I've always liked the idea of Alice in Wonderland. And then it was like, okay, it's finally fucking clicked. I've actually never read the book. I probably should at some point. I'd probably have a really good time with it. But, that's one thing I love about Spirited Away, though. It isn't just... oh yeah, Chihiro just kind of woke up, or Haku was like, yeah, I'm the river spirit. I'm just going to set you free. You don't have to deal with Yubaba. She still has to pass her final test. And, like, rewatching it, like, that first scene when she meets Yubaba, and how she is trembling. And even Yubaba's like, you're shaking. Like, I could see it. Like, you're so pathetic and shit. And then by the end of the movie, she's like, yeah, Granny, a deal's a deal. What do I gotta do? Because you know what? I'm not scared of you anymore. With all the things that I have done and that I have seen and I have experienced, like, I gave a bath to a nasty ass fucking spirit. I saved the life of a fucking dragon. I went on the train to the afterlife, but they're all spirits. Anyway, we'll talk about the train. I don't know what I have to say about the train, but we'll talk. I have no notes for this. I'm just like, this is my favorite movie. I saw it again. It was a new experience. I'm just gonna talk about all kinds of fucking shit. I don't know how long this is gonna be. It's like, I've done all this shit. I've experienced all this shit. This asshole almost fucking ate me. What are you gonna do? And it's like, I love that. I think it's so badass. I think it's so hype. I love looking at this movie. It's so pretty. Like the designs are so cool and like so unique. Like the movement is like so good. I think like some of my favorites, like when the stink spirit is there, and there's something you see in a lot of Ghibli movies. It's almost like a, like when Jose and I were watching them, one thing we noticed is there's almost always a scene of something flying. It's not in every movie. I don't remember which ones didn't. Like there's a very small amount that don't. But you can almost be like, all right, there's something flying. Check it off the list. There's like usually a scene of someone eating something. You check it off the list. There's usually a scene where someone's will kind of like, you'll just see this like ripple go up them when you're like they're really cold or like disgusted, and then their hair will just stand up. I love that shit. And wow, it's one of the reasons Earwig and the Witch is so fucking terrible, because there's a scene like that in the movie. I don't even remember what causes it. And like it does that animation, but it looked so soulless. And I was just like, wow, like this movie is not working. I think it's by far the worst one. Like this movie does not work. And that little moment, like something that is like a fucking staple of these movies, and you tried to replicate it and you just couldn't. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. If it was like 20 minutes longer, I would have been mad, but tangents and whatnot. But it's like that shit I think is like really fun. And then just like everyone's faces during the whole River Spirit, Stink Spirit debacle is a fucking ton of fun. Again, like the scene where she's just running down the fucking stairs. I just love that scene. I really do. I think it's like really fun. There's so much fucking energy in it. I think I've only watched the sub twice, including the first time when I didn't actually finish it. When we watched it last year, when we watched all the Ghibli movies, we watched them all subbed. That was a great experience. Like, I don't remember what the differences in the script were. From what I remember, it was like 90% the same, if not more. But there was a couple things here that I remember. One of the big ones is when Haku takes Chihiro to see her parents for the first time and is like, remember your name, remember your clothes, like all that kind of shit. This is the shit you will need to get out of here. When the dragon flies off, in the dub, she's just like, Haku's a dragon? Like, she saw it and immediately was like, I was just with Haku, now there's a dragon flying away. Yeah, this makes sense to me. And to me, like, that always kind of did make sense to me. It's like, I just saw him, now this thing is here. I live in this world with all kinds of weird, crazy shit. This all tracks. But in the sub, she doesn't realize it's Haku. It is not till I don't remember what exactly it is that does it. Like, it's during the, like, paper swarm when Haku was dying and shit. I think she's just following this dragon. She's like, he's in pain, let me help him. And then when Yubaba's like, Haku's bleeding all over the carpet, she's like, that's Haku? What the hell? Now I was gonna help him anyways. Now I, like, have to. The movie looks great. Like, even that scene, like, I remember watching it, like, in fucking theaters, and being like, dude, that blood is so pretty to look at, and wow, that sounds horrible. That sounds like some real serial killer shit. Happy Halloween. Good night, everybody. I mean, it's not Halloween. It's now November 1st. Happy Halloween, by the way. A little belated. But yeah, it's like, I've always thought that. I was like, the blood in that scene, it just like looks so pretty. The whole fucking paper shit. Okay, that's just me. No, I'm talking about the prettiness. That's talking about how creative this movie is. Let me just do that. I love the shit in this movie. I love how creative a lot of these ideas are. It's like, yeah, they gobbled the food like pigs, so they turned into pigs. Fuck your parents. The paper swarm, I just think is a really cool enemy. I also like that as soon as they start attacking Chihiro, they stop. Like, they don't do any damage to her. It's not like they hit her and they're kind of cutting her up and they're like, oh, okay, this is the wrong person, let's stop. It's almost like when they hit, like, the spell on them is like they hit Haku, they fuck him up. If they hit someone else, they're just regular paper. I think that's kind of freaking cool. let me talk about No Face for a second. What I love about No Face is I'm not sure how to interpret this character. And I don't mean it necessarily from just like, what are the themes? Like, what are they trying to convey with No Face? I just mean his or her. I feel like they do refer to No Face as he a few times, so we'll go with that. It's his mental state. Like when so Chihiro lets him into the bathhouse. Because it is like, as he even says to her at one point, he's like, I'm lonely, I don't have friends, I don't have family. It does genuinely come across as like the spirit who people don't really see, just kind of wants some acknowledgement. And because she was nice to him, she let him in, he helps her out by giving her the bath tokens. But then there's the scene later when they're in the bath, and he gives her even more. Because he gives her one and then has all the others and like, here you go. And she's like, no, I don't need any more. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. But you've given me what I needed and I don't need more than that. And he just looks so distraught, and then he drops them and they fall, and then she uses them later to help the river spirit. And every time I watch the movie, I think, since I finished it, and was like, was he trying to eat her? Like, at that point, was this still, I just want to be nice to you because you were nice to me? Or at that point, was it, so you like these, huh? This is what I can use to lure you. And if you take too much more than you need, then I can eat you. Which we see it with the frog later on, not too long after, where he's like, okay, everyone wants gold, so I can make gold. Come on. And then, like, when he lures the frog, he's like, cool, now you're mine, and then he eats him. And then, later on in the movie, which, again, one of my favorite shots of the movie is when she goes into that room with the giant fucking No Face, there's the food everywhere, and I love how the food looks like more realistic. Like, gosh, like, I fucking love the contrast on that shit. There's like quite a few things in the movie where it's like, that looks more realistic than the characters, and looks fucking impeccable. But like, she's on one side of the room, No Face is on the other, and in the back you've got like the sliding doors, and there's this mural across the doors of like these like a green dragon, a yellow dragon, I think a red dragon. Like, I want a picture of that so I can put on my wall or on my door. Like, holy shit, it's impeccable. And when they're talking, he tells you, like, I'm not giving gold to anyone else. You're the one I want. Like, what do you want? Like, I want Sen. Then he, like, makes this mountain of gold and shoves it in her face, like, take it. And then the hand, like, starts to, like, kind of go around her neck. And that kind of does make me wonder. It's like, so at that point, is it, I want to consume you, but I can't until you show me your true face. Like, until you show me how greedy you are, I can't do it. And I mean, you could make an argument that it's like, the second dude he ate wasn't being greedy, but he was being an asshole. It's almost like now he can kind of justify eating him. Like, I don't know. But it's something I always wonder. It's like, essentially, does he have to justify it before he can eat somebody? Or is he just, you were the one person that was nice to me, and I want to do something nice for you, but you keep rejecting my friendship. You didn't want the bath tokens. You didn't want the gold later when we ran into each other in the hallway. And the fact that you keep spurning me is pissing me off. Take this, accept my friendship, or suffer the consequences. Like, I don't know. And I find it really fucking interesting that, like, every time I watch the movie, I'm like, I don't know what is going on through your head. And it's so interesting to me. Let's talk about the train. So, the train is probably the most famous scene in the movie. Either that or when she's flying on Haku. I think it's kind of both. I don't know what it is. I think it's just with all the shit that has happened in this movie, that everything this poor girl has gone through. Just sitting there quietly as this beautiful music play. Let me talk about the soundtrack for a second. I'm going all kinds of tangents. The soundtrack is so fucking pretty, man. It's like Spirited Away is one of those movies where I have seen it so many times, I can essentially turn my brain off while watching the actual plot and could just say, cool, let me pick like another element of the movie to focus on. Like in this last session, like when I watched it the other day, I was like, okay, I really want to pay attention to like the backgrounds. Like when there's a lot of people in the shot, I don't want to just look at Chihiro or like Yubaba. I want to look. It's like, what is some of the cool shit going on in the background? What is like some of these other like faces and reactions to shit? And like when the music's like, I really just want to pay attention to the music. Like we walked in right as the movie was starting, and as soon as I heard those fucking piano notes to One Summer's Day, it just felt like so blissful. And it's not like I was like, man, I'm having such a shitty day. Today is awful. I'm upset. Now I'm home. Like I felt completely fine, but it was like, it's like it's like coming back after a long day at work, sitting down beside a nice fire and just like closing your eyes and relaxing. That is the feeling I have while watching Spirited Away. Like, it is comfort food. And, like, just literally the first, like, note of the main theme just, like, fucking does that to me. It's beautiful. The Train is a different song, but it is no less beautiful. Like I said, it's of this very, like, haunting melody. And it's just so... The scene is very relaxing. It feels kind of somber at the same time. I think a lot of that is because of the music. I know there's like theories and discussions about like what the train symbolizes. If it really symbolizes anything, it can just literally be they're on a train to go to the next place, and it's just a quiet moment because a lot of shit has happened. And again, it's like one of those like, let's just give the characters and the audience a chance to breathe. Now, it is the spirit world, and they do mention it's like, you know, the train used to go both ways, but now it's a one-way track. Like, you can't get on the train twice. So there are definitely a lot of theories, like, yeah, like, it is essentially dropping people off into the afterlife. I know there's this one moment where, like, they're at a station, and there's this, like, silhouette of, like, this little girl spirit. And I think I've heard some people say it's like, that's the little sister from Grave of the Fireflies waiting for her brother. Like, oh shit, I'm about to cry. You're like, oh, that's so... Oh, I actually am crying a little bit. It's like, that's so fucking sad if true. Which, speaking of which, another, like, potential, like, kind of shout out to another Miyazaki... Well, I mean, Miyazaki didn't do Grave of the Fireflies. But to another Ghibli movie... is when she's in Zeniba's house. I don't think I've ever noticed this before or never, like, really thought about it. But there's just this picture of, like, a witch and her broom and everything. I'm like, is that just Kiki? Does Zeniba put just a framed, like, picture of Kiki on her wall? Wait a second. What did Kiki get up to? Like, that's dope as hell. Did she meet Zeniba, like, after she grew up? Is Zeniba, like, the artist friend? Like, I don't think so, but maybe it's like, now I'm asking the real questions. I was like, that's so fucking cool. How have I never noticed that before? But also, I hadn't seen Kiki for, like, 20 years. Like, the first time I saw Kiki. I watched Kiki last year. I watched it, like, the year before. But we're going to go on a quick tangent. Another one of my favorite movies of all time is The Brave Little Toaster. And again, I say that with no sense of irony whatsoever. Holy fuck, I love that movie. And I believe this was on the Brave Little Toaster VHS that I watched all the fucking time. There was an ad for Kiki's Delivery Service. So for years, I'd wanted to see this fucking movie, and I didn't get to see it until I was like 20. And I finally saw it, and like after years of build up and being excited about like, yeah, magic and flying and witches and shit, it's gonna be great. And then I was like, this is the most boring ass movie. Wow, like this is it? Like 20 years of build up for this? Nah. And then I had rewatched it a few years later, like, this movie's phenomenal. Like, I'm stupid. And yeah, Kiki is like in my top 5 Ghibli movies. It's so good. It's so relatable. That scene where she just walks into her room and just collapses onto the bed. I'm like, I understand that. That is adulthood. But, yeah, like I don't really have much else to say about the train. It's just I mean, this whole movie is a fucking beautiful work of art, but it's just this really, I think what makes it stand out so much is how unlike the rest of the movie it is. Or again, a lot of the movie, like, there's a lot of, like, motion going on. There's a lot of, like, cool, crazy, weird shit happening. And this is just something normal happening, but it's also something very quiet. And it just feels nice. It's like, it feels like I needed this and Chihiro needed this, and it's great. I wouldn't say it's my favorite scene in the movie. For me, my favorite scene in the movie, because of course it's a scene where One Summer's Day is playing, is Haku takes Chihiro to see her parents after they're pigs. And then after, kind of sit down, and this is when he's like, alright, this is how Yubaba controls you. She steals your name. This is what your name is. Keep this, like, keep it secret, keep it safe. Your clothes, you're going to need that when you escape. Like, don't forget who you are. Don't forget what your parents look like. You have to remember them. And, like, giving her the rice balls. And then as she's, like, eating, he's like, you know, you need to eat. You need to keep your strength up. Like, I put a spell on him so you'll feel better. Which, by the way, real quick, there's, like, no explanation for how magic works in this universe, and I don't care. It's just like, yeah, Yubaba can go and make a rope. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That makes sense. Like, I said, come in. And then just, like, telepathically, like, grab someone and shit. I'm like, okay. I don't need an explanation for how anything works in this movie, which is how you know the movie's working. Like, I'm so invested in everything that's happening. I don't think I'd ever really questioned it before. And I was like, as I was watching it this last time, I was like, I have no idea how magic works in this. I guess, you know, shout out Todd Howard. It just works, and I'm fine with that. But anyways, point. As, like, she starts eating, and as she's eating, she just starts weeping. And they're, like, the biggest, most exaggerated tears of all time. So maybe it should come off as a bit much. Maybe it should come off as a bit goofy. But her, like, trying to, like, hold her emotions back and being unable to do so, and then she just, like, finally has to let it out. It wasn't until I watched it last year that I had ever actually cried during Spirited Away. But I cried during that scene when I watched it last year. And I don't even think it was like a, oh my god, like, this is resonating with me on a personal level. It was just, the scene just fucking got me that time, you know? And then when we watched it the other day, I was crying again. I think I cried a few times. Like, basically, as soon as we sat down, as soon as I heard, like, One Summer's Day and everything, I'm like, okay, so the first scene made me cry. The rice ball eating scene made me cry. I think I might have teared up a little bit on the train. The scene when she's, like, telling Haku his name and shit, that made me cry. I don't remember if I cried during the ending. I feel like I did, but I'm also not sure if I did. Yeah, I'm not 100 on that. But, like, I was an emotional wreck. And again, it's not like, man, I had a really shitty day and now I feel a lot better. It's like, I was fine. I just got to see my favorite movie on the big screen. And it was like, this is wonderful. this was great. I loved this. And I was just fucking smiling while crying. It's like when I watched Toy Story 4 the first time, which I have cried every time I've seen it, just at different points, where it's like the first scene of the movie made me cry, and then as soon as it was done, I was like, okay, I'm in good hands. I'm already crying. Then as soon as like the cold open stops, Friend and Me starts playing, and I'm like, oh, I'm crying again already. Holy shit, the movie's 2 for 2. Like, both scenes have made me cry. Wow. And then at the end of the movie, and it's not the Infinity and Beyond scene, although that made me cry the second time I watched Toy Story 4. Like I said, it has a 100% cry rate. But it's the scene with like Gabby and like the little girl finding her and adopting her. That shit like made me cry the first time. I was like, fuck! Oh, I know that it's like this movie maybe didn't need to exist. But I feel like it kind of did. Because like Woody is an impulsive piece of shit. So him doing what he did at the end of Toy Story 3, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, and I love it. But Woody is also the kind of person who would do something like that and realize he made a mistake. Like, this is the same dude who was like, I'm fine with going to Japan and being a museum piece forever because my emotional state right now says I should. Woody, no, that wouldn't make you happy. And that's what Toy Story 4 is. It's like, this is Woody's fatal flaw. His impulsivity. It's how fucking, like, emotional he can be. And now, this movie is like, you finally did it, Woody. You had one of those, like, intrusive thoughts and went full tilt boogie with it, and now you are paying for it because this is not what you want or what will make you happy. Does Toy Story 4 do a good job with Buzz? Hell nah. Does it do a good job with like Potato Head and Ham in them? Hell nah. But it is so good when it comes to Woody and to like just punching me in my feel gut. I don't know why I was actually punching myself, or it's like in my gut, and then I was punching my heart. Ow. It actually kind of hurt a little bit. If I suffer cardiac arrest, know that it was completely my fault. What was the point I was making? Oh yeah, that movie made me cry a lot. Spirited Away, like, made me cry. Do I have anything else I want to say? I don't know if I said anything coherent. I will also be honest. It's like noon, and I went to bed at like 6. We had a lot of people over for Halloween, and it was a lot of fun. But I'm very tired. I don't know if I have any other like specifics. I haven't fucking said anything about you, Baba, or the babe. The fucking baby is so funny to me. One scene I really like, I have a couple with the baby. Both are when the little mouse dude is one. After Chihiro steps on the slug, when Kamaji, by the way, like the boiler room music, the do 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 do. It's a fucking banger. Right? It's not like a banger, but like it's so good. Like it conveys that like fucking like Alice in Wonderland style whimsy. It's so great. I love the soot balls. I love Kamaji. The part when he kind of motions like the little Yubaba looking hawk, which is now like a little fly, like, hey, fly me over there, because all the soot balls just kind of standing over like Sen's, I don't want to say bloody footprint, but the like sludge footprint. I mean, I guess that's blood. That's like slug. Anyway, they're like fucking purple ass nasty footprint, and they're all kind of standing around it, almost like it's a test of courage, like who's actually gonna stand on it. And then he's the one that does it, and then he like does the thing, and then they do the thing. I'm like, I just think that's cute. I also like how when they get to Zaniba's, like before they actually get there, but like they get off the train, the fly and like the little bird dude is like super tired from carrying this big ass body. And he kind of realizes that, and he's like, all right, dude, land, I got you. And then he starts going, and Chihiro's like, hey, you can ride with me if you want. And then he just goes, no. And it doesn't come across as like, I'm too good for that. I'm Yubaba's son, and more of a, I gotta help him. Like, he's taking care of me. I need to take care of my guy back. And I was like, I really like that. It doesn't last very long because the little I was in my head, I was saying like the little hand dude. I was also saying like fucking Thing from, is that his name? Is it Thing? From like the Addams Family, like the hand, and also the fucking Pixar lamp. But you know, that shit shows up, and then he immediately scuttles up Chihiro's arm, which I don't blame him. I'm like, yeah, it's Spirited Away. You never know what the fuck is gonna try to kill you in this movie, in this world. It's great. I don't remember the note that the Japanese movie ends on, because I know it's different. Because there's this extra line. I think it's just that Chihiro's last line is not in the sub. Because I think the implication for the sub is that while all of this happened, she does not remember any of it. She doesn't remember her experience from it. Which is on the, like, basically like as soon as she crosses through the tunnel, which is why she's like still clinging on to her mom like she did at the start of the movie. But in the dub, when her dad's like, you know, it's a new school, a new town, it is kind of scary, she just says, I think I can handle it. I love that. I think it's just such a nice touch, because like after watching this movie and seeing everything that's happened, I'm like, she can. I believe that. It's like, I don't think she was like this terrible kid. Maybe a little bit bratty, but like no Veruca Salt or anything. But seeing like her growth throughout the movie, it's just nice to kind of have her acknowledge it at the end too. It's like, yeah, this is not just some shit that she forgot. She's going to be a much stronger person as a result. And I just think that's lovely. I really like how before she goes through the tunnel, like Haku tells her, you don't look back until you've passed. You have to keep going. And there's a part, like her parents go ahead, and she starts turning her head, like to look back, stops. It's like, okay. It's almost like this, she kind of just remembers, like, no. Can't look back. Have to keep going. And I just like that. Like, I like the fact that she kind of hesitates or is almost like tempted and is like, no, go. It just works for me. This whole fucking movie works for me. There's a reason I've seen it umpteen billion times. Like, I was thinking yesterday, as I was thinking about, like, what are some of the things I want to say about this? I don't know. I was just thinking, I was like, how many times have I seen Spirited Away? I don't know. I've seen it so many fucking times, I could not begin to tell you. And I was thinking, I was like, you know, when I die, God forbid, not anytime soon, I was like, when I die, do you get, like, stats after you die? Like, is there a thing, like, when you talk about, like, if it's, like, St. Peter at the gate, or it's God the Father, or Christ himself, do you get your life stats? It's like, all right, this is how long you lived. That's something I would know. It's like, all right, this is how much of your life you spent asleep. This is how much of it you spent in school. You love writing, JJNW'. It's like, this is how much time you spent writing. This is how much time you spent watching anime. This is how much time you spent, like, playing video games. And of that time, it's like, here's the games you played the most. Like, this is how much time you put into Pokemon, into Kingdom Hearts, like, into the fucking Trail series and Persona series, like, etc., etc. Do I get something like that? It's like, is Spirited Away my most watched movie? Because it probably is, but it might be The Brave Little Toaster too. Like, that wouldn't surprise me. And it's like, is it close? It's like, how many hours of my life have I spent watching Spirited Away? Like, it's probably been a couple days at this point. Then I also started thinking, it's like, what are other stats? Like, you know, like in Call of Duty and shit, you have your KDR, you have your kill death ratio, where it's like, again, God forbid, I hope my KDR is 0 to 1. It's like, I didn't kill anybody and I only died one time. But I was like, do you get like a laugh-cry ratio? Like, I guess an LCR? It's like, this is how many people you made laugh versus the amount of people you made cry and shit like that. I was like thinking about that yesterday morning. It was like, do you get stats? Would I want to even see my stats? I mean, yeah, but I'd also be like, oh man, I spent a lot of time doing that. Like, I maybe shouldn't have done that. I think at this point, I am done. If you haven't seen Spirited Away, hopefully some part of this sleep-deprived ramble will convince you to watch it. If you have seen it, I hope you love it. I certainly do. I did say that when the new movie comes out, new Spirited Away movie, definitely movie. Bahama, ow! Stop fucking biting me so hard. That hurt. Ow! I don't know if you can see, but there's like the actual fucking bite marks. He was just nibbling, and then he went to town. Yickety fucking yikes! But after I see The Boy and the Heron, I do want to do like a full. Just the camera moved a little bit. I do want to do a full tier list on all the movies. Spoiler alert now for which one's my favorite. Like, unless The Boy and the Heron is like it literally will have to be my favorite movie to beat Spirited Away. Sorry if I don't think it'll be that good. I think it'll be great. I'm looking forward to it. I know nothing about it. There were no trailers released when it was first out in Japan, so like, I don't want to see any trailers. I want to go in completely blind. I'm super excited for that. But I'm really looking forward to doing this tier list and really just talking about all these movies. Excuse me, there is no bottom of the fucking barrel. Like, as bad as I think Earwig is, as much as I'll shit on it, it's not like it's the worst one they have. But I'm like, yeah, it's bad. It's more like a mediocre bad than like I am angry or embarrassed at this bad. Can I imagine them doing something worse? No, but it didn't leave, I feel like a bottom of the fucking barrel. Like, I have to feel it, like, this is some dog shit. No, I'm just like, yeah, this is like really bad, but it's mercifully short, so I can't even give it that, you know? But, my number one's gonna be when I do it. I don't even know if I'll really say anything about Spirited Away when I get to it. There, I'll just be like, yeah, this is literally my favorite movie. I made a damn near 50-minute long ramble about just aspects of the movie that I think are really neat. And there's probably just a bunch of shit that I'm not talking about and completely forgetting to talk about. I feel like I should say this. I feel like I've said this a few times. Like, I'm done. Hold on a second. Like fucking Uncle from Jackie Chan. One more thing. Or Columbo. Oh, just this one more thing. I saw you do it. Now I gotta send you to the Columbo zone. I fucking love that video. I feel like I have to point out how awful her parents are. Now, are they like awful? No. But it is just kind of funny. It's like this poor girl is essentially being punished for things that her parents did that she had no control over. She didn't want to go through the tunnel. She didn't want to go eat the food. She specifically kept saying, let's go back. Let's go back. Let's not do this. Let's not do this. And then they basically have the nerve to be like, come on, Chihiro, hurry up. Like, one part I really noticed, like, when they're crossing, like, the stones in the beginning, the dad, like, specifically helps the mom cross. But as soon as he smells shit, he runs, and she's like, come on, Chihiro, and neither of them stop to help her across. Like, yeah, that's pretty fucking awful. That's some bad optics. I don't want to watch a Spirited Away 2. There's, as far as I'm aware, there's like nothing in the cards about that. But it's like, I feel like I have to say, it's like, I don't want a sequel. This is already a perfect movie for me. This is a perfect experience. Would be like, yeah, it's like, this is what happened to Chihiro after she grew up and shit. It's like, sure, like, would I be interested to know? Yes. But I'm fine with not knowing. I'm fine with kind of like filling in the blanks myself. But one thing I want, and I will end the video on this note. So Ghibli has an affiliation with one Disney. Disney made this shit, pointing at the Oblivion Keyblade. It made Kingdom Hearts. Can we get Ghibli in Kingdom Hearts? Can I fucking get Yubaba's bathhouse as a level in Kingdom Hearts? Can I ride Haku and like you're fighting a fucking Heartless on Haku's back? Can I fight No Face? Like, that'd be kind of sick. Or like maybe make it like the minigame world, like the new 100-acre one. I'd be so okay with that. Like I'm just like, as I was watching the movie and like we're on the train, I'm like, can you just imagine the fucking train scene? But you have Sora, Donald, and Goofy just fucking sitting there. And like, oh my gosh, that mental image of those three fucking dingbats just standing there, just sitting there is so funny to me. Like, I want this. I want this so bad. I'm not holding my breath. I don't expect to get a Ghibli movie. And even then, like, I think Laputa is probably a better option in terms of just like a world and like shit to do. Like being able to explore Laputa. Holy shit, that would be amazing. Or like a Mononoke, I think could really work too. But man, Sora, Donald, and Goofy just sitting on the fucking train. It's so fucking funny to me, man. I want it. Spirited Away. I like damn near basically favorite movie of all time. Really glad I got to see it in theaters. Always happy to be able to watch it. I'm gonna go ahead and stop now before I ramble anymore.